Hello and welcome back to A Traveling Knitter. This is my April wrap-up where I talk about the books that I have read in the month of April. I have read a total of 13 books this month. Now, I will put the breakdown of the genres as well as the style of book, but spoiler, 8 of them are manga, which very easy, very quick to read. Today's tea is David's tea in the Peppermint Amour. I was feeling a peppermint tea, and so this is the one I grabbed. Also, my face is like really red on camera. I don't know if that's gonna come across, but it is not that red in real life. I'm filming with my old Canon T5 Rebel, so maybe that's why it's like really red, but whatever. The first book that I finished is The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. I ended up giving this 4 stars. This was really good. I listened to this on audiobook, and this is an adult thriller, slightly historical fiction, as well as paranormal. So you're following 2 timelines. One is kind of present day, and it is an adult whose sister had died when she was 18, 19, 20, something around there. So her older sister had died, and I don't want to say is infatuated because like that diminishes the fact that her sister was murdered, but she's just kind of obsessed about it and finds out that the land that her sister was found on is being turned back into a school, and she's like, what? So she then starts investigating it, and then the parallel story is girls that are at that school during that time. So I thought there's a bit of a paranormal ghost part to it. Not corny or anything. I really liked it. I enjoyed it. It was suspenseful, bit of a thriller, because you know, you never really know, did the person who was convicted actually commit the murder, or did someone else do it? What is the background of it? So it's pretty good. So 4 stars there. Then I read a romance novel, A Rogue of One's Own by Evie Dunmore. I gave this 5 stars. This is so good. This is the second in the League of Extraordinary Women series. The 3rd one comes out this year, and then the 4th one, which is I believe the last one, will be in 2022. It's historical romance with, so this is smutty. It's really good. It follows Lady Lucy, who you meet in the first book, which is Bringing Down the Duke. And Lady Lucy is kind of like the ringleader of the suffragettes. So are they suffragettes or are they suffragists? There's like 2 terms. One that was more for the British or UK, and then another one that's more for Americans, and they deploy different tactics. I'll correct myself down here if I'm incorrect, but they did different tactics, so there's different terms for them. But either way, she's kind of running the show. She lives alone. Her family is kind of like cut her off in a sense. That plays a bigger part later on. And she is trying to infiltrate the women's homes by purchasing a newspaper or a publishing house, and then, you know, publishing their women's rights and votes for women and all of that inside of that. Her plan is foiled by Lord Valentine, who decides to purchase the same publishing house news. I can't remember if it's a publishing house or if it's a newspaper. It might be one and the same, but he purchases the same one because he also has a need to raise money very quickly, and it is to help get his mother out of the family house. It's really good. I liked this more than I liked Bringing Down the Duke because I kind of related to Lucy more than I did I never remember people's names. Like, it's when you hear me give like synopses and I just say our main character, it's because I don't remember people's names. Anyway, I really like this one. There's a cat in this. Her name is Boudica, which is a reference to Boudica. Was she a queen or was she just a warrior? Either way, this is really good. Highly recommend it. I love the cover. I love the styling for historical romance smutty books. Like, I love this. I don't feel weird reading this in public. Next up is a book I read on my Kindle, and this is a novella or novelette. It is The Bridal Boot Camp by Meg Cabot. I gave this 3 stars just because it's a novella. Insta love, like insta love. I liked that. Okay, synopses. This is like an introduction to the Little Bridge series by Meg Cabot. I read the first one. I have the second one on my to be read list for May, and then I read the novelette, novelette, and it is obviously 2 characters, the first one being a fitness instructor, and then the second one is like this cop, and he is told that he has to take like a yoga class, but when he goes, it's not the yoga class, it's the boot camp class. He decides to stay, and so then she's like, oh, there's this like hunk in my class, and she finds out like what he does because he can't go to the normal yoga class because of a conflict. So she goes and he's like playing ukulele for kids, and then she goes back to his house and they have sex, and then it's over. So, did I just ruin it for you? I mean, it's a romance novel. That's like, how many pages was it even? Like 45 pages or something? I don't think it's really giving it away. But if I ruined it for you, I'm sorry. But almost all romance novels involve the 2 main characters having sex. So, I don't know if that doesn't really spoil anything, I don't think. The next round of books are the manga that I read, and starting this, I thought this series was over, and it's not, so I'm a little annoyed because I don't really think I'm going to continue with this. I'm not going to like wait for it. The manga is called Living Room Matsunaga-san by Kaiko Iwashita. I gave this 3 stars. I had quite, like, the artwork, beautiful. The stories, cute. Why did I give it 3 stars? I have a big problem with romance that has a big age gap, especially when one of them is underage. Because that's illegal. That's illegal. So while reading this, I just in my mind pretended that our main girl character was in college, and then the dude was like not that old. So and here when I started it, I was like, oh my gosh, she's so young, because they said she's a sophomore in high school. And I'm like, if you're a sophomore in high school, that means you're like 15 years old. And then our love interest guy, he has a birthday, and he turns, okay, apparently 4 gigs on an old SD cartridge means you get 5-10 minutes of footage. So I had to switch to my phone because I can't find my SD card. I swear I bought like 3 of these dang SD cards, the ones that are like $50, and they just disappear or they break. I'm still bummed that the one that I took when I went to Germany broke, so I didn't get to keep any of those pictures. Oh well. It's brighter. My face is not as red. Okay, so I was talking about living room Matsunaga-san. So what was I was talking about the age thing. So in the manga, it's saying that the main character girl, she's a sophomore in high school. Well, in the US, that's like 15. I think 14 at the youngest is sophomore. Because I know you can get your permit, and in Ohio you can get your permit at 15 and a half, which doesn't that seem so young? 15 and a half and kids can drive around, but yeah. So I'm thinking she's 15, and later they say that she's 17. I'm like, okay, so she's older, but like 17 is still a minor. Like, she's still a minor. Blah. Oh, I'm like looking at my cactus, and I have a new like 5 inches of cactus growth. Okay, that's cool. Okay, all over the place. So our main character, he's like really conflicted that he likes this girl. She is like infatuated with him, and it's just so weird. So I'm just gonna close the age gap there so that I just don't feel grossed out when I read it. But what is fun about the series is, so she lives in a boarding house that her uncle owns, and she's there because of family matters. They don't really explain it, but it's like a typical manga anime trope where a teen goes and lives by themselves. It's just different because here in the US, it's like not uncommon for people in their mid-20s or even 30 to live with their parents still. So this is different. So she lives at this boarding house with a bunch, I think it's 5 other people. And they vary in age, but I think the youngest one is maybe 21, 22, and then our oldest person is 28. And each chapter is a bit about how our main character perceives them to be so adult, to be so like know what they're doing, have their life together, and aren't embarrassed about things, and then finding out that, actually they don't have their shit together. So it is a bit awkward, I think, with the translation, because it's very cringy sounding, because she'll say like, adults, oh, as an adult you would know what to do, or oh, even adults don't understand what they're doing. And I don't know, like, the average person wouldn't say stuff like that, but I get what the author is trying to say, is that appearances of being put together doesn't mean you're actually put together. So I'm enjoying it. I think the artwork is just really good. I really like it. And next I listened to another audiobook, and this was Shades of Earth by Beth Revis. this was a trilogy that I finished up finally, and surprisingly, I liked this fourth one. I gave it 3 stars, but really it's like a 3.5 star. Out of the trilogy, I like this one the best. So the trilogy is these people on a spaceship are supposed to be traveling to a planet, and they have, I think it's a cryo chamber. It's like a thing in sci-fi where you have people that are frozen, and it's called cryo chambers. And our main character, she gets woken up. She gets woken up early, and then it's her trying to figure out, like, why did she get woken up? What is this, like, weird world on the ship? All the people that are on the ship are, like, kind of afraid of her because she looks different from them. And then you, as the reader, as well as falling in with the main character, you kind of find out these sinister things that are happening. And what's cool about the third one is they actually go to the planet. Like, instead of just ending the series by reaching the planet, the start of the third book is them reaching the planet. And I completely forgot about how such a like the second book ended on such a cliffhanger. And I just didn't bother to read the third one. I mean, I remember why, and it's because they didn't have it on audiobook. They only had it as a Kindle book, and I just didn't feel like reading it. I wanted to listen to it on audio. So that's why. And then I just kind of never got around to it, but I did, and I feel accomplished that I finished another series this year. This is the year of just finishing series that I kind of left off. And then the last book that I read in the month of April was A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. This is a hefty guy. I gave it 5 stars. This is the third and final book in the A Darker Shades of Magic series by V.E. Schwab. It was fantastic. I think the second one might be my favorite, but I thought the conclusion was really, really good as well. Overarching, there are multiple Londons: Red London, Grey London, Black London, White London, and they have different levels of magic. So Red London is prosperous, Grey London really doesn't have any magic, it's kind of like our world. White London is like they're losing their magic, and then Black London has been cut off and magic devoured it. So this follows Antari, who can travel between the worlds, and there's kind of this bigger picture going on. And you have Kel, who is the Antari of Red London. You have Holland, who is the Antari of White London, and then there is no Antari for Grey London, and then you also don't know who the Antari is of Black London because Black London doesn't exist. And there's a lot of court politics because you've got royalty in the different Londons, and I don't want to talk too much more about it because it really, the first one ends and it could almost be a standalone, but then you get into the second one and it has this big theme, and then the third one is like the end of the world. So I loved it. I wish I had the special editions of these. If someone wanted to buy my copies and then I could buy the special editions, I would. So that's it, guys. All 13 books that I read in the month of April. It is a little bit cheating to say 13 books when 8 of them were manga, but you know what? I don't care. They count, and I love reading manga. I read manga more than I read comics. I don't really read too much comics, but manga, big fan. If only it was easier to get to. It would be wonderful if there was some sort of subscription service for manga, just to have it organized better. I would consider paying for that, because I don't pay for any subscription services when it comes to reading books on my Kindle, because I have access to the Columbus Library as well as the Dayton Library and Greene County Library. So there are 3 library systems that I use to get Kindle books, and they get Kindle books so quickly. And you can, you know, if a Kindle book isn't available, I keep saying Kindle book, if a digital ebook isn't available from your library, a lot of times, for me, I have to like refresh swipe on the app, but it'll then say, you know, do you want to recommend this for your library? And you can. And every single book that I've asked for has been added to the catalog. So that's saying something. Could just be my library systems. It's pretty much the Dayton one that I use the most, because I have the most books saved on there, which they have been switching from Overdrive to Libby. I like the layout of the Libby app more than the Overdrive app, but the issue I have with Libby is it crashes all the time. It crashes on my phone, it crashes on my iPad, and there's when you download a book, you can like read it in the Libby app, and the layout is really nice, but it can't do it. It'll, you know, I'll turn the page and it'll take 4 seconds for the page to load, and that's really, really disruptive when you're reading a book. Didn't mean to go on this rant, but that is my wrap up, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have read any of these books, or if you plan to read any of these books, or if you have strong opinions on any of them, let me know down below, because I would love to chat about them with you. Otherwise, I will see you in my next video, which will be an update on the things I have been knitting. So the next one will be a full normal podcast. Thanks guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.